Good evening. This is the meeting of the Town Administrator Screening Committee. It's actually about 5:25. We had some technical difficulties. We may have a few more, but at least we should be able to get going. It's being recorded by Area 58, which will be available at some point. So let's start off and let's all stand for the pledge, if you will.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. And we're going to have some technical support helping us here, hopefully. So, is there any way we can...
I don't know how to shut it off.
This room's too high technology now. We can't do it anymore.
Of all the cranberry acres in the state, 36%.
Okay, there we go. I got to bring up one thing here since I didn't...
Oh, there you go. That's kind of nifty.
I printed those colors.
Brings a different element.
Yeah, it's really nice. Yeah.
Okay, let's, we'll get started. The first thing we want to talk about is the consultant quotes that we got in. And I sent a copy of the results to everybody. Just a few words about the process. Process was done by the Chief Procurement Officer here in the Town Hall. The process is known as an invitation to bid. It's, a lot of people, refer to it as an RFP, a request for proposal. That's a different animal altogether. This was an invitation for bids, and under Mass General Law 30B, we are required to get 3 quotes if the expected quotes will come in between $10,000 and $50,000. And then as long as the respondents meet all the criteria, that the award must be given to the lowest bidder. And as you can see from the sheet that we sent out, we did get 3 quotes. Grew White was $9,900, MRI was $12,800, and Community Paradigm was $15,000. So by statute, with Grew White responding and meeting all the criteria, the award will be made to Grew White. Tonight we have Mr. Rick White from the firm here, and what we will do is turn it over to him and get his sense of time frame, which he had given us some information that you've also got. So let's hear from him, if you will, Rick, and just what it is you want to do, how you want to do it, when you want to do it, and then we'll go from there. Thank you.
Sure. Well, first of all, I'll be with you from beginning to the end. It's a full-service consulting. We don't do this for the money. We do it because both Tom and I were former managers, and Tom started the company after he retired, and both he and I have no small motor skills, so we can't fix anything or build anything, and we have to keep ourselves busy, so we do some executive search consulting and some organizational development consulting. But mostly Tom created the firm because there was really no consulting presence for executive recruitment in Massachusetts. And over the course of, more than 20 years, we've done hundreds of searches. And we do quality searches that focus on the community and their needs, not necessarily a cookie cutter, throw an ad in and grab as many candidates as we possibly can. Because Tom and I both were managers and career managers in the state, we believe that fit is the most important ingredient. Qualifications are great, experiences are great, a track record of success and accomplishments is important. And you can find that in the field. But every community is different, every community has a personality, every community has issues of its own. And our experience has told us that we've seen a lot of qualified professionals in our day, the people that we've had to terminate through the course of our career have always been technically qualified, but they've had some difficulties blending in to the community or to the organization. So we do a deep dive. So as part of the process, next week in the beginning of the week, I'll interview all the department heads for about 15 or 20 minutes. And based on their feedback, I will develop a synthesis of the feedback that I got, and I will make that available to you, but also to the candidates. I'll also ask you to give me names of people in the community that I should reach out to talk to get the same feedback, so I can get their perspective of what the needs are and what has been a success in the community, what hasn't been. And I will interview them for 15 or 20 minutes, and I will take all the feedback that I get from all of them and do a synthesis for them. I will then present it to you and also to each individual select board member as a way for you to start thinking about, what characteristics, what type of candidate that you want. And I found that an incredibly productive way to recruit the right person. We're the only firm that offers a guarantee that if we don't recruit someone that we recommend, not that you pick, but we recommend, and they get appointed, if they don't last 18 months, we'll come back and do the search for free. We've done hundreds of searches, and we've never actually had to fulfill the guarantee. Most of the people that we have recruited have long tenures and very successful tenures. I will say that that just recently we did a recruitment 2.5 years ago in Wellfleet, and the manager there left after 2.5 years, and that's been the shortest tenure we've had, and the closest we've come to the guarantee. But we do and have a reputation in the field of doing a very thoughtful and meticulous job of trying to understand the community and what their needs are and matching the right candidate. So when we approach someone who we think might be a good fit for Carver, it has some credibility with some of the managers there, because they know the detail that we go into and the hard work that we do. We also view the clients, the applicants, as our client too, and we help them prepare. We review the material with them. We do a lot of pre-screening. through this, and it helps us do the screening. And we help them prepare for their interviews with you. You give them some sense of who you are, what you are, so that they come in here and they at least have, an understanding of the map of the community and the committee. And we do, once you pick the finalists and move them and recommend them to the select board, we'll coordinate with the select board. We'll do the same coordination with the candidates that we do with you, and we'll keep you informed. Generally, communication between us and the screening committee can go two ways, and I think Patrick and I have talked about it. A lot of screening committee chairs want me to write to them first and for them to forward whatever I write to the committee, so that they have a sense that everybody receives the same information at the same time and are understand it. Other committee chairs aren't as particular and say just send them out to everybody. I think Patrick and I agreed that I would send whatever updates or any reports that I have to him, and through him you'll receive the material. When I was a manager, the email was the greatest godsend that God ever bestowed on me, because I didn't have to make dozens of telephone calls anymore. I could put all the selectmen's names on the email before I left, and I could just give them what I call a supermarket update. In case you're in Stop and Shop today and run into someone, here's what happened and here's some of the issues. So with that as a habit, you may not know exactly what I'm doing with the recruitment process, but I will consistently communicate with Patrick through email, and you'll have my my phone if you have any questions. I'm available 24/7. Again, just funny, crazy manager stories. I slept with the phone next to my ear, and I slept with it on full blast. And if I got an email from the finance committee chair or a selectman at 2 o'clock in the morning, because I've worked for some elected and appointed officials who work third shift, I knew that I would never really get a good sleep unless I read it and answered it. And what I found is that that meant something to someone. The fact that I woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning and did that gave you a certain amount of mythology for some reason, and earned respect that I didn't necessarily deserve. But I will be very responsive, so if you have any questions, if you have any concerns, if you want to talk about something outside of this, you're not bothering me. I'd much rather hear it from you. Back to the work that we do, and I want to abuse a farm metaphor because we have two farmers over here. The crop comes from tilling the soil and preparing the soil, and the work that we do with the interviews with the staff, preparing and getting understanding for the community, and understanding what the staff issues are, what the staff needs are, just opposing it against what the community leaders think and what the selectmen think. There are common threads in there, but there are also different constituencies and different needs. And I think that prepares the candidate to sometimes walk that tightrope between constituencies and understand what they're getting into before they get into the community, and that's what we do. I will commit to, if people call me back, or if I can develop a day where I get nothing but staff, on Tuesday, I will wrap up all of that by the end of the week and get you copies of that, if you can get me names through the chair of people you'd like me to reach out to in the community. By that time, that will inform me so that by the end of the week, and I know you have this mandate, but of placing an ad by the 19th, we could then get an ad out. My big fear is, I just got a call last week saying, would you bid on this? And then towards the end, they asked me for written quotes. And then Patrick and I talked Friday. So I don't know as much about Carver as I need to and want to. And I'm really afraid if we put an ad in too early and I don't know the community well enough, that I'll miss an opportunity to talk to someone about what the real issues are and talk with some authority and get them involved in there.
How long do you think that would, how much time do you normally need?
A week. Usually it's 2, but I know what pressure you're under and I know what deadlines from selectmen mean to people. But, you know, I can, by the end of next week, I will be ready and have enough information if you guys give me the names of people to contact.
So that'll be
And
the 26th.
Yes. From there, I only need 4 or 5 weeks to do a decent recruit. And then it's really up to you to, you know, how you want to review the applications, what you want for information. Formulating, I have a whole series of samples of questions that I can send to everybody so that you can think about what you want to ask in an interview. They're all generic, and I encourage the committee to take the generic question and start editing it to include, you know, material and issues about Carver in there, so that it's, you can tell whether the candidates did their homework or, you know, are invested in the community enough. But that's the easy part. You know, in terms of, and that schedule after the 6-week period or the 5-week period is really up to you. By law, you can't go for a second interview unless you cull the candidate pool. If you wanted to interview 8 people, say if there were 8 people that were worthy of an interview, you couldn't get a second interview with all of those 8 people. If you were to reduce the pool down significantly to 5 or 4, and you wanted to follow up with an interview, then legally under the open meeting law, it still would be eligible for an executive session, and we could work that through. Generally, you know, the first go around, you want to ask the candidates the same questions. The interviews can be anywhere between an hour and an hour and a half. That generally allows you to ask between 8 and 10 questions. The managers are pretty verbose, and they answer questions, you know, in detail, as evidenced by this presentation. You know, and they like to, you know, get into detail to show you what you know. And that's fine for evaluating the field and culling the field. But then there's what I'd call the beer factor. You know, you want an interview with the candidates to determine whether or not they're the type of person you'd sit down and have a beer with, male or female. And, you know, those interviews are a little different. They're a lot more casual. You know, they have to be professional, but you can't ask personal questions. But you can talk about issues in the town, and it can be a little bit more spontaneous than the structured interviews. So that schedule, for your part, depends on you and when your availability is. I don't know, a lot of people sometimes go away for the winter. I don't know what your schedule's like, but I can work with almost anything. That's pretty much it. I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Pat, do we have the leeway to push it back to the 26th?
Well, we, if that's the feeling that that's what's needed, yeah. I mean, there's really no choice. It's, I think in some respects, the charge and the dates we were given by the select board were very aggressive, and I think that as much as we can do to try to get to them, it may not be possible. So that I don't think they're really realistic.
What's the process? Do we need to appeal to them or just tell them what happened?
I will speak to the select board chair.
Because, I mean, I think what's being said here is really important.
It is, yes.
If these guys are going to take the time to understand the culture of our town and and town hall, the administration here, I think we should give them the time they need to do that, because that'll really help to get the fit. So I would recommend we tell them 1 to 2 weeks. If you think you need a couple more days.
A week's fine.
Okay.
I'll, with my manager's hat, I'd go to my board and say, I have good news. I've met the spirit of your deadline.
So I think I will do that.
Okay.
But, if you have, I'd love to give you my telephone number, 781-572-6332. Call me anytime. I'll be talking to the chiefs Tuesday, so if I can. What I generally do is send the staff in the town manager's office a go-to-meetings link, keep it open from 8 o'clock till 6 o'clock, and have them schedule people for 15 to 20-minute periods there. Generally, I actually spend a little bit more time with the two chiefs, the public works director and the finance director, because of not the importance of what they do, but the visibility of what they do, and the consequences of getting something right around those fields.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question. We have in the town hall side division heads and then department heads. And you were just talking about finance director. We have an interim one right now. So would you be more apt to talk to the department heads in the finance department? Division?
Yes. Someone with some tenure and a perspective, good or bad. What I'm really looking for is information. There's no right or wrong thing. I don't ask a lot of probing questions. I leave it to the candidates, to the people I'm interviewing, to tell me what they think, and based on what they tell me, I ask questions. But generally, I'm trying to get a feel for what the operational culture is in the organization, for the organization part, how the manager or the administrator communicates with the department heads, how they feel about how that's been done in the past, what they'd like to see with that, what type of collegial opportunities people have, and what influence do they have on decision making. In this environment and in this community, what I know of it, and I don't know a lot, you want a collaborative leader who's going to take advantage of some of the skill sets of the people that have been here for a while. And it's going to be caught up less on what authority they have and more caught up with, how they can harvest the resources that are in the organization. And, generally, I find in most organizations, there are variations of competency in that end. A lot of organizations have poor communications. Staff department heads feel a little isolated and out to lunch. When I was young, I had a police chief who came into my office one day and said, I think you're going to be a great manager, and this is your first gig, but let me tell you. He says, I know you have tough decisions to make, and I don't want to be in your spot, and I'll support you any way I can, but I got to know what they are. And if I don't know what they are, I can't support you, and you're not going to be here very long. And it was probably the best advice as a young manager I got. And, kudos to the chief who had the courage to come up to me and tell me, what I needed to hear. And, given the form of government you have, the numbers of committees you have, I wouldn't say, what's invested in the town administrator in terms of authority and decision-making, you're going to need and want someone who can work with people. How? I'll find out, Tuesday, but to what degree? Mm-hmm. Does any of this make sense?
Yes, it does.
It does. I have some questions amongst us, though, as far as like, if you're talking about the town of Carver, trying to understand the culture and who to talk to, I don't know how we as a committee formulate the people we might want them to talk to, or
There's 6 of you.
like a word of mouth.
If you can give me three names each, I will commit to calling all of them. And if you could do it through Patrick and get it to me, I'd be happy to. It's generally, the way I see it, if someone comes into a meeting and they say something, or if they come to town meeting and they have a position, does everybody listen to them? Do they have the respect? Then those are the people that I want to talk to. It could be a former selectman who's still invested in the town. It could be someone whose family has lived in Carver for 300 years. It's critical, and and Dennis, when I got there, there was a big division between the newcomers and what I call the Mayflower crowd, the people that have been there forever. And the Mayflower people felt disenfranchised and set to the side, and a little smarting about the power that they lost because there weren't as many of them. But they were still incredibly powerful, and they had great input into the community, and connecting to that was incredibly important. And through you, I'd like to get as much of a diverse collection of Carver as I can, so I can understand that, so that I can inform the candidates of what they're dealing with. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
so then what Rick meant is that each of you you want me to coordinate it through me?
Yeah.
And you could each of you email me up to 3 names of those that aren't on this committee, the select board, or a
Department head. or
department
employee.
head within the town. Okay, so then when I get that, I will get it back to Rick as soon as possible.
And if you could do me a solid and tell the people that you identified that I'm going to be calling them,
Oh, yeah, I'm not.
so it's not like I'm selling insurance.
Yeah.
Or, what's that car warranty thing that,
Oh, yeah. Okay, so we're going to do that. Now, are you also going to, so you're going to set up to have a, one day where you're going to talk to, you're going to have an open mic type thing for anybody in the town hall to get a hold of you?
no, I'm going to coordinate with, trying to think of her name.
Elaine?
Elaine.
Yes, okay.
And have her tomorrow send a schedule
Well,
around.
you're going to talk to her tomorrow anyway about the,
Right.
about the ad and so forth, okay.
Send her a schedule to the department heads at 20-minute intervals and see if I can get them to sign up for a conversation
Okay,
on
that's good.
Tuesday.
And then, are you you're gonna talk to each one of us too?
Yes,
And you'll be calling?
if you give me the numbers, I certainly will.
Okay, and the select board?
What I like to do with the select board and the screening committee, I like to have them have the synthesis of both groups to inform them of what those people see so that they can use it as just a basis for their understanding before I interview them. So, for our purposes, I will write this up by the weekend and get it to you, and then we can talk, and the selectmen can talk.
Okay.
Individually, but I'll have enough information about the community where I'm not uncomfortable with sending out a job posting and developing a brochure for it. But I think with select boards and volunteer boards, having them understand the differences in feedback, but the similarities, is good information to have them help think through what's important to them. Because you got a lot on the line. I mean, this person can do a lot of good, or they could do a lot of damage.
And we can't hurry it for the sake of just meeting a date either. We got to do it, we got to give everybody their due, especially the consultant, and work to get as much information as possible so that he can put the information out so that we can get the best candidates possible.
Excellent.
Anybody have any questions?
When you're, obviously that's gonna happen on Tuesday, the 23rd is when a lot of people are gonna have some basic interviews. When you, let's see if that was called.
I always have 2 or 3 that can't make it, so I
That's
hunt
fine.
them. And
When you finally do an,
a synthesis?
no, sorry. Sorry.
Advertisement?
When you advertise, excuse me.
Yeah.
When you do advertise, you're gonna do that on the 26th, you're thinking of that?
Yes.
26th. Were you gonna do any type of pamphlet or any type of information? I've seen in different screening committees where they've done like a 2 or 3 page, information thing about the town administrator, about the finances, about the, what's going on with the community. Is that something that would you think of doing that as after that, or would you not do something like that?
Thanks for bringing that up. We do a brochure. It's either, we can do an elongated one that's just, like a little book with some pretty postings, or we do a trifold. I'll be square with you. It's a marketing piece, not for you, but for the community. But within it, when we identify challenges and attributes that we want the next candidate to have, there are enough key words in the pamphlet that relate to the feedback that we receive from people that will inspire a conversation with the candidates once they receive the bulletin. But, we use the profile of the brochure to present the position and the community in the brightest light we possibly can. because it's, we're really marketing the community. But we use enough language from the feedback that we got in there so that when I approach someone to recruit them, I can refer to specific language in the brochure and I'll elaborate on it and provide them with more detail. Just so you know, in terms of how we recruit, I will send out an email to about 400 potential candidates with a copy of the brochure and a little note from me asking them to consider it, saying something about Carver and saying if they're not interested, could they pass this on to someone they think might be. I have a list of, those people that I contact, and then based on what I understand of the community, I'll start networking with people in the field that I've worked with and talk to them about, prospective candidates. What do you think of this person? Do you think they'd be a good fit? This is what I know about them. And then I'll start approaching people independently and I'll ask them, have you had an opportunity? You guys have been recruited before, so you know how it works. Have you had an opportunity to look at the brochure? Have you considered it? I don't want to put a lot of pressure on you right now, but if you could go back to your email and look at it, or I'll send you something right now, and could we set up a time where we can talk about it? About 65 to 70% of our recruitments are and appointments are for people that weren't looking for a job, particularly that we actually found. Leaving a place is tough. Saying goodbye to people that you care about is tough, especially if you had a good experience. But being persuaded and marketed is important. That's how we go about doing it. And, generally we found the softer touch, the incremental touch works. And, we're hopeful. We've been getting anywhere between 24 and 70 applicants. In Provincetown, I think I got 100 applicants, but half of them were for people that had an affinity for Provincetown and just they were the CVS clerk and they wanted to come and work there. My goal is to present you with at least 8 interview people that are worthy of interviewing. For you, not for the board, so that you can cull it down to 3 or 4. And I told Patrick,
I believe we're required to bring them 4. I think it's a must, not a...
Well, that's going to be subject to further discussion too, because it may be less than 4, it may be more than 4.
I'm just basing it up and saying you got 8.
Yeah.
If you could get 8, yeah,
That's
4,
well, 8 will be worthy of interviewing. They may not make the cut.
Right.
That would be really nice.
But they'd like to see
have that
4.
many.
Yeah, I'd like to give them 4. The one thing I'd caution you out, and I've said this to Patrick, I work really hard to convince you never to forward a name that you couldn't see sitting in the town administrator's chair. Because if you do that, it's more probable than not that they'll be appointed. It's just the way it works. And so I will fight you tooth and nail if I think that you're appointing, I hope. If you're recommending someone I don't think is a good fit. And, once I've had my say, it's really up to you, but, that's my advice to you, is never, ever forward a name of someone that, you just can't see in the job.
So, what did you want to say, Mark? Okay, so, go ahead, Steve.
Is there a legal posting requirement that we have to meet to, Rick?
No. I mean, good practice this whole process is developed on good practice. I will meet tomorrow and recommend that you advertise in the International City Managers Association newsletter, the MMA job bulletin, and generally a local newspaper distribution, just because, you know, the community expects that. And, you know, the whole process is set up so I will have a grid of a candidate grid, and I will take the job description and what's required and put various components of the requirements in the grid, and I will review each and every single candidate to see if they meet, exceed, or fall short, and then make a recommendation on balance, because sometimes, you know, candidates can meet a lot of them, but not all of them. And then based on that's my initial screening. I'll start, you know, talking to people in earnest and really pressing them and pushing them and determining whether there's a fit or not. That's over and above me, you know, doing the affirmative recruiting and trying to find people that I think fit here.
So in any case, too, Rick, so we're going to try to do everything possible to get a ad in by the 26th.
We will have an ad in by the 20th.
Okay. And then what's your, if things go well, what's the estimation of how many weeks will we need?
4 to 5. 4 to 5.
4 to 5 weeks?
Yeah, from that period.
And to either start interviewing or to come up with a final candidate?
I will meet with you and I'll have PDF all the applications with an inventory of them all,
Yeah.
with a memo that identifies what the pool is and makes recommendations for you to interview. And then we can sit and discuss it and go through each and every single resume. You can say why this one as opposed to this one, and we can have a discussion about it.
Okay.
And that would be one meeting. And then from there, you could figure out who you want to interview, and you'll set some dates up, and I will coordinate all of the interviews for you. Generally, I'd ask you to pick a location that isn't frequented a lot by the public, if you can.
We did that last time. We did it over at your place, Craig.
I like to have a room where I can park the candidates so they don't even see each other and they don't know who's applied. So I usually have them come 15 minutes ahead of time. I meet them out in the parking lot. I bring them into the building. I park them in a room. I close the door and tell them I'll be back. And then I escort the person that's been interviewed by you out the building, and then I bring the other candidate in. So, you know, confidential, these people have a lot at risk. And, you know, it takes a lot of courage to sit down with your board and say, you know, I love it here. I love working for you, but I have this opportunity in Carver. You know, some boards aren't always mature, and sometimes they react hostily to candidates. So I try to do everything I possibly can to keep their confidentiality until you make a recommendation for them being a finalist and they give me permission to make their name public. Now, I also have, you know, a story about a screening committee member. I always say you can't talk about the candidates with anybody, not even your spouse. And I have a story about this one screening committee member who was at a party in the western part of the state. She was so excited about some of the candidates that she says, I can't tell you who it is and I can't tell you where they work, but I can tell you what they're like, and this is who they are, and this is and the person knew exactly who they were. And I had a candidate who was completely exposed. So I ask you, and I know the two chiefs will be incredibly sensitive about it, because that's their business anyway. You know, to just keep the names to yourself. I also do preliminary reference checks. I don't try to out them in their jobs, but I know enough people who know enough people to know whether they're good or not. I may know them specifically, but then when you pick the finalists, I do thorough reference checks on them. I talk to every elected official that they've ever worked for, every boss that they've ever worked for. I ask them for direct reports from their current job and their past jobs. And when I interview, I ask them for names of citizens who are advocates in their community, who would know and be familiar with their work. And when I interview those people, I ask them for names of other people that I can call. I've sometimes sat in coffee shops, had a cup of coffee, and started talking to someone about their town administrator and asking them what they think of them, because I just wasn't comfortable. But we will do thorough checks, and then we work with the town on the quarry and other stuff.
Okay.
Pat?
Oh, go ahead.
So if we could just follow up, you mentioned at some point we're going to have a meeting, we'll review resumes and cover letters and make some choices from there. Is that meeting in 4 to 5 weeks?
That meeting would be in 4 to 5 weeks.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. I just wanted to clarify that. So
Yeah,
we know
sorry.
that from advertisement to 4 to 5 weeks, we're kind of in a holding pattern until you've assembled
Right.
all this for us. Okay, just to clarify. Thank you.
And do we want to grant authority again on the advertising, or is there some way for us to review the language before that goes out?
I can send it all.
Yep,
So maybe through,
yep, we can do that. Yep.
These guys would really like me to, and they got a great point. There's 4,700 acres of cranberry farms in the state. 36% of them are here.
13,000 in the state, 4,700 acres here.
I put the number down. It's, yeah,
Yeah.
that's typical of me.
I think it's 47,000, isn't it?
13,000
13,000
cranberry acres, of which 4,700 are here. That's 36%
Yeah,
of the cranberries grown in Massachusetts.
right here, yeah.
Well, if I can just toss this in too, that half of the acreage in the entire town is in one way or another devoted to the cranberry industry.
Is that right?
Yeah, more than half. And we have 25,000 acres, so.
Is there a reference point that I can find that?
The assessor's office.
Okay, great. I thought maybe the planning department did some
Oh,
sort
the
of,
assessors have to
Okay.
send
One of
out
the
the bill.
largest
They
towns
have to.
geographically too, third, fourth or something geographically,
Yeah.
one of the larger towns in the state.
It's fourth, I think. Fourth or fifth, somewhere around there.
no, it's, I mean, those things that, the culture and the history and what goes on here is really important for the candidates to understand. And, you know, if half the industry in town is devoted to cranberries, a manager or an administrator who comes in here and is insensitive to that, isn't looking to understand it, isn't looking to connect to the people that do it, is going to fail here.
A lot of important factors, but it'd be nice to list agriculture in there somewhere.
Yeah, no, planning on it.
Thank you.
Okay, does anybody else have any other points or questions for Rick? How about John on Zoom?
Poor John.
No, all my questions have been answered through this whole thing.
Okay. Then Okay, Rick, well, thanks for coming in tonight, and we've got our work cut out for us.
Yeah, we do, but it's been great. Thank you all for being so
Thank you.
patient
Okay.
with you.
Thank
all
you
my
for being patient.
verbosity. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good, have a good night.
Night.
Thanks again. We'll be talking a lot.
All right.
Okay, we did that. We've got, next item on the agenda is the meeting minutes from January 4th, which are not ready yet. So we will put those off until the next meeting, and we'll have the minutes from this meeting and that meeting to go with that. Just want to make one gesture on the review of the open meeting law, which I sent a copy out to people about emailing. Public body member may lawfully email a quorum of the public body only to discuss scheduling a meeting, distributing a meeting agenda, or to distribute reports or documents to be discussed at a meeting, provided that no opinion of a member of the public body is expressed. And basically, that would be from me to talk about when the next meeting is, forward information from the consultant, and so forth. We know what our next steps, I don't know when the next meeting is going to be. We'll get to that in a minute. Our next steps are going to be determined by the consultant and his contact and how quickly he gets feedback from us and everybody else that he needs to talk to. And he's going to be starting that process in the morning. He'll be talking to Elaine, and we'll be dealing with some of that. Anything else? Any other committee member comments? From here, John on Zoom. All set. And I do not know when the next date for our meeting is, but I will let you know. And that'll be dependent on the information with the consultant. It's going to be at least a few weeks. I think we're in a little bit of a lull, and then we're going to hit, then we're going to go like one right after another. So, and then also, I know what we did last time is when we got to the interview process, we were even doing that on Saturdays. Is that okay with everybody? Is we could do like a half a Saturday, or the better part of a Saturday, and do 5 or 6 candidates. We actually did it over the fire at the fire station, Chief.
No, we did do that on a Saturday. I mean,
Yeah.
that was, I don't know, it's the best thing, but at least you could get a bunch of them done as quick as you could. But I can do whatever you want.
I thought that worked out good.
How many cells do we have?
More importantly, if we're going to go to the fire station, will there be food?
Yes.
And normally that would be a executive.
Those are executive sessions,
Right,
yeah.
add that too, so.
Yeah.
No, that's fine, that's what the
Yeah,
body
well,
wants to do.
we can figure that out, but, we've got,
You have to move pretty quick, so you gotta do it like on
well,
Saturdays.
we're gonna
Really
move
wanna
as
get it
quickly
done.
as effectively possible.
Yep,
We don't want to sacrifice
yep.
quality for speed, so.
Okay. But I don't think you wanna do one and then another day do another one, another day do another.
Oh, no, no,
I think you wanna
power
try to do as
through.
many as you can.
Oh, no, yeah, we
Speed
could, if we get
date,
8 candidates, I'm thinking,
Yeah.
maybe 2 half days, one, early afternoon till early evening type of thing, and maybe like a Saturday morning, and, knock them all off. And we've done that before, and it works out pretty good. So, if that's the case, then we're about ready to adjourn. So we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion adjourned?
Second?
Okay, any comment, whatever? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, done, Will.